And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you. I've got to break free.
Yeah, we got to break free here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, and my special guest, Pepe Escobar. He's a foreign correspondent now for Asia Times, and man, does he got a lot of goodie that it's not uncommon knowledge. I mean, if you go take a look, you go to antiwar.com, you get this. You look at, on C section, page 47 of the, New York Times, you might find a little bit about it, and they said, yeah, we mentioned that over here, kind of, but it's not consolidated like we have in the articles from Pepe. And you go to today's archive show. You go to Today with Pepe Escobar, and all the links to his articles are there. You read them, and you're going to get up to speed. Now, yesterday we had Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski that was in the Office of Special Plans there in the Pentagon. She told us, man, she confirmed a whole bunch of this stuff. She's going, yeah, we know they were lying us into all these wars. This is what they do. And she came out and she went up against them. She fared okay. Now, Pepe, you've been going up against them a lot. I mean, when you start talking about guys that are C.I.A. assets that want to be, head of countries and working deals with, and they're coming out of exile to go in and want to play the games with and so on. I would imagine that Washington does not want this information coming out, would you think?
No, they don't, because this is a replica of, do you remember the Iraqi National Congress in 2002? Where virtually every week they were having a meeting in Washington or in London. All these Iraqi exiles were plotting to go back and organize the post-Saddam government. This is exactly what's happening now with these people who are basically returning from the U.S. Most of them are U.S. exiles, especially a guy called Khalifa Hifter, who defected from Gaddafi's forces in the late 80s. He lived in Virginia, in Vienna, 5 miles or so from Langley, for more than 20 years, and now he's back, and he's the military commander of the whole transitional council in Benghazi.
It is to laugh. Okay, now, Pepe, I want to make this one point. Now, I've been watching this, and they talk about this guy coming out, but let me tell you what the impression that we get here by reading the articles. They call him a Gaddafi regime defector, but they don't tell you it wasn't last week. It was in the 80s. They're giving the impression that he's defected just now.
He defected a few days ago.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the problem. If you read the New York Times or the Washington Post, which sometimes their reporting is extraordinary, and sometimes their reporting is great for what they don't print, in fact. You always have to read between the lines, the New York Times and Washington Post. They would never spell out who are these people, what's their background, why they defected, when, and what are they up to nowadays. The head of the Transitional Council in Benghazi, which is a former justice minister of Gaddafi, he did defect, I would say, a month ago, more or less. Same with the justice minister. But, so now we have a mix of recent defectors who are part of the Gaddafi machine, plus old exiles. And the people who actually started the revolution on the ground, the use of Cyrenaica, Eastern Libya, they have a movement called the February 17th Youth Movement. These are the guys, the young guys, students, unemployed, young intellectuals, lawyers. They started this. There was the element of tweet Facebook revolution in the beginning on the ground. We were in touch with these people from the beginning. One of them was actually killed by a Gaddafi sniper 3 weeks ago. And now they're totally sidelined. And who took over? This bunch, the exiles and the defectors from Gaddafi who are positioning themselves for the post-Gaddafi. This is something that happened in Iraq as well. There are a lot of people from the Ba'ath Party who knew which way the wind was blowing, like in January, February 2003. They defected as well, and then they got handsome posts in the post-Saddam era. It's the same. It's always the same thing.
Wow. I'm when we had Hillary Clinton coming out and saying it started with Tunisia. You had Tony Blair coming out and Hillary Clinton, and we got to help guide them to make sure that they got a government that we will allow them to have, and we're not going to bomb them again next week. Okay, so they wanted to control this from the beginning. So I could see what was coming. That's why we wanted to hear. We had a project to just influence and educate the youth that make up 30% of the people are under 15 in the Middle East. I'm like, of course they're internet savvy. Of course they're not. We got 4% of the people are over 65. You can't get away from this demographic. And I'm going, we're going to just let them know that they are allowed to own themselves philosophically. They don't have to just pick another pharaoh, okay? They don't have to be enslaved for millennia as they have been enslaved for past millennia. I mean, freedom marches on. Humanity trends forward. We got to just get off of this collectivist authoritarian empire, new world order. We own, you rule, whatever the heck it is. And we're going to try and drill down on this, with help from people like you doing this information. But I noticed that Hillary comes out and they go, well, we need to speak with the opposition leaders. And they go, oh, we don't want to talk to you. These youth that you're referring to, I'm not even sure they really think that there is a leader. It's a movement. And when you don't have a head of a snake to chop off, that's not good for the bad guys that want to rule you. So they have to create somebody.
You're totally right. They fabricated out of this, wild bunch of exiles and recent defectors. They fabricated a leadership which does not reflect the mood of the young people who actually started all this. Why did they started a revolution in Eastern Libya? Because it's the poorest part of the country, although most of the oil is there. But the proceedings from the oil sales, they go to Tripoli on the other side of the country. In Benghazi, Braga, all those areas in the east, they are very, very poor. Then there's the element of the black Africans who go to Libya in search of jobs. Why do they do that? Because nowhere else in sub-Saharan Africa you can find a job if you are a black graduate from a local university. You go to Libya. At least you have a decent standard of living. It's the highest standard of living in Africa apart from South Africa. So it is a mecca for young people from Mali, from Niger, from Chad. I actually saw years ago, those trucks that cross the Sahara full of black Africans, destination Libya. They go like 3 or 4 days with a few bottles of water, and they endure whatever they have to endure just to find a mecca and to find a job. And now the regime itself uses these people, of course, but this is something that our UN fact-finding mission would find out, in fact. There's an enormous prejudice in these poorer areas of Libya against these black Africans. They bundle all these people up as Gaddafi mercenaries. They are not. They are normal, average Africans who are trying to find a better living without having to take a boat and go to Europe and flounder in the middle of the Mediterranean, So there are so many aspects of the whole thing. It's not a clear-cut good guy against bad guy thing. It's not a John Wayne scenario. By all means, it's extremely complicated. And if you add to it a foreign Western intervention coordinated by two major colonial powers, Britain and France, and apart from the U.S., which is not exactly popular in Northern Africa.
Well, they've had this desire since Rome.
Quagmire, right?
Yeah, well, I remember there's a senator in Rome. He goes, after anything he would say on the floor, he'd go, and Carthage must die. I mean, so we're going back to Carthage again. I mean, this is, it's phenomenal to me. When we come back, we're going to talk about something you referenced, is that there's ideas to get a strategic base for both AFRICOM and NATO in Libya. What is it, Rat Patrol again? Oh, we'll talk about it.